Good morning, good morning, good morning, Facebook Live. And for those who are watching this later on, different groups and settings, and also on YouTube, you got to remember, if you want to be part of the live conversation, you got to come and like the group, Mastering the Laws of Attraction. Today's the subject is the 6 books I think every entrepreneur should read. This came about because I was asked a question on my YouTube channel about what 6 books should, what 2 to 5 books should an entrepreneur read. Now, this was very difficult. And I'm walking here in Marietta Square. I got an appointment at 8:30. So we got to shoot this video out in the outside. Hopefully there's not too much noise with traffic. We're a little bit late. Simply because there was a train going by. 6 books. So I had to narrow it down. It was very difficult to narrow it down at first. The reason why is because I had so many books going through my mind as far as what books to choose. Oh, and if you haven't, they're getting ready for Christmas up here at Marietta Square, the holidays. They got the ice skating rink, trees. Coming up here to take some pictures. I wanted to get all this done. But so these 6 books, it was very difficult, and I'm not going to keep you guys long today. It's very difficult, because over my 30 years of study, so many books I've read, so many books came to mind. I mean, Art of the Deal, and let's just start right there. Art of the Deal, Never Give Up by Donald Trump. I know some of y'all ain't gonna like that one, but I specifically wanted to start out with that and saying that's not one of the top 6. But I wanted to acknowledge that if your emotions are telling you that you can't learn from somebody simply because you don't like them now, then every author has something about themselves that you probably don't like. If I was talking about reading another one of my favorite books, Meditations, which was written by Marcus Aurelius, he was a Roman emperor. A lot of you say, oh, well, he wasn't of my religion and he was a Roman emperor. He was slavery, so can't learn from him. Thomas Edison, can't learn from him. There's so many people that if you just sit back and say you can't learn from somebody, then definitely you need to read these 6 books because you need to get your mind right. And these 6 books really, some of them are kind of detailed. Others are more about getting you right as a leader. See, you can be an entrepreneur, you can start a business, but if you're not a good leader, you won't be able to build a system that works. You see, a true entrepreneur doesn't just build a mom and pop business. A true entrepreneur builds a system that can work without them, that leaves a legacy, whether it's 1 store, 5 store, 10 store, 1,000 stores. Even if it's just 1 store, it might be 1 store, but it needs to be a system that can easily be transferred down to the next generation and so on and so forth. But so let's get into it, because like I told you, I got an appointment at 8:30. Can't be here too long today. The first book, and I'm gonna reference a bunch of other books as I go through it, but the first book that you should read, and these are in order of how you should read them, not so much as to what's most important. But the first book, The Richest Man in Babylon. Now I know the guy who asked this question, he had already read that book. He saw my video on The Richest Man in Babylon, but definitely you need to read The Richest Man in Babylon, because when you read that book, you start understanding how to build wealth, how to take 10% of what you earn belongs to you. If you're in debt, the story of the camel trader, and that's why you got to read the whole collection. The story of the camel trader teaches you how to get yourself out of debt. There are so many other there are like 5 or 6 little stories in there. How the Emperor Sargon transformed Babylon into the wealthiest city-state of the time. If you're going to be a leader over a politician, and those are books you need to read. But how did he transform it? Which is something that Japan did when they decided that as a nation they was going to become number 1 in cars. When they decided as a nation they was going to become number 1 in manufacturing technology. Just like right now, China has decided that 20% of its population will be millionaires in the next 30 years. No, next 20 years. Right? They decided this as a group, as a nation, that this is what's going to be. So The Richest Man in Babylon will be the first book that you should read. Get you out of debt, teach you how to build wealth, from a small scale to a large scale. That's the first book. Now, the reason why that's the first book, and it's like Think and Grow Rich or Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is because once you read that book, The Richest Man in Babylon, all the books, then when you go and read a Dave Ramsey book, you'll be like, oh, I see where he got it from. When you read Napoleon Hill, see, Think and Grow Rich is just like the preview for his real book, The Laws of Success. When you read that, then you'll say, oh, I see where he got that from, right? So you'll see where these authors of this century and current got their information from, and then you're going right to the root, right? You're going to the root. This is the secret information that was being held. So you're going to the root. So Richest Man in Babylon, every little story, read each one of those. It's only about 100 pages. So the stories are real short. So you should be able to read them easily, and you can study them. So Richest Man in Babylon, #1 book. Number 2 is The Kybalion. The Kybalion is not about a religious spirituality. It's about a way of thinking, a way of being. You see, the Kybalion, you'll find when you read that one, you'll start understanding, oh, that's similar to my biblical studies. That's similar to my Islamic studies. That's similar to my Buddhist study, my Taoist studies. That's similar to my spiritual studies. But it's also similar to, it is the book, the defining book where the law of attraction comes from. The law of attraction comes from the Kybalion. But understanding the Kybalion is not the easiest thing. But when you read that, again, when you read a book by Tony Robbins, which I love his books, when you read the Zig Ziglar book, when you read The Secret, when they start talking about, neuro-linguistic programming, when they start talking about your subconscious, when they start talking about how to focus and things like that, when you read books about the seven habits of successful people, these are all great books as well. When you read those books, and you've already studied the Kabbalah, and you can say, oh, the law of mentalism, oh, that's the law of vibration, oh, that's the law of polarity. You start understanding all these different laws actually came from the Kybalion. And then and the thing about the Kybalion is going to give you that base. It's going to give you a good understanding, going to give you that good foundation. If you remember the video I posted a couple of days ago, I talked about you got to build a strong foundation first, and then you adorn it. So you build your foundation with the Kybalion, and then you adorn it with, Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within. You adorn it with Lisa Nichols' Abundance. You adorn it with Zig Ziglar and Jim Rohn and their speeches and their books. You start adorning it with those. You start understanding how the law of attraction really works. And you see the Richest Man in Babylon give you some techniques and a little bit of a mindset. Then the foundational mindset comes from the Kybalion. Now from here, we're going to get a little bit more technical, more up to date. But these are very important books. The next book, The E-Myth. Got to read the E-Myth. E-Myth is probably one of the best books that's not read by as many people. It's a huge book. I mean, it's been read over and over, republished tons of time. But the E-Myth should be read because the E-Myth will distinguish, are you truly an entrepreneur, or do you need to be the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 20th employee of a company? You see, some people, just because, one of the examples he uses, just because you are the plumber and you're doing all the great work and you get the accolades for the great work, you may not be a good business person, a good business manager. You may not be able to manage the business. You may not be able to handle the marketing and that sort of thing. So you may need to be that top plumber in a huge plumbing company, right? That may be where you need to be. And it's so funny. There's a gentleman, my plumber. He sold his company because he realized that he was a great plumber but didn't need to be in charge of the business, right? So he sold his business, and then he got somebody to manage a second business that he started for him. So sometimes the E-Myth helps you to understand that, to get out of your own way, to not be so caught up with what people say you should be. And yeah, I can recommend the Gary Vee books, Crush It and Ask Gary Vee. I can recommend the Gary Vee books alongside the E-Myth because he talks about that in Ask Gary Vee a lot. But in his book Crush It, it's like if you are the entrepreneur, then you need to follow that E-Myth stuff. And then if you want to get into the marketing, he tells you about how to market. But see, the Gary Vee books also fall over to the next one. Oh yeah, and when you read The Richest Man in Babylon, sorry, I forgot this one, you'll understand where Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which almost made this list, got his information from. Because you read The Richest Man in Babylon, you get Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Now, sorry, back. So that was number 3, the E-Myth. Next book is very important. Who Moved My Cheese? Very simple book, only about 50 to 100 pages. Who Moved My Cheese? The basic idea of this story is that you got to keep moving forward as life changes, as innovation changes. You can't get stuck. There's a ton of authors who talk about not getting stuck in one place. You got to keep moving forward. You got to keep understanding. All these books on marketing, these books on the economy, those books, really you can sum them up in Who Moved My Cheese. This is why I'm giving you this. This is why that book made the list, because it sums up tons of other books that talks about how you have to stay ahead of the curve or move with the economy. You know, the other day I said you can't, we too often we live based on how the world is. I mean, how the world should be, not how the world is. You know, I told you that's what's from The Alchemist, talked about that, which is another good book. Who Moved My Cheese is just, you know, The Alchemist. And Machiavelli's The Prince also talks about the same thing. Now, those are also two great books that you should read. Definitely, The Alchemist was so close to being on the list. And so is Machiavelli's The Prince. But you got to be being able to move like that, right? So, Who Moved My Cheese? So let's go down. We're at The Richest Man in Babylon, The Kybalion, E-Myth, Who Moved My Cheese. The next book is it just fell out my head because I didn't bring my list with me, but I know it's back. So the next book is The 1 Minute Manager. All right, The 1 Minute Manager is a very short book, but it's beautifully written on how to manage people. You cannot be a great entrepreneur, build a system that works that other people are supposed to follow if you can't manage people. You know, I was watching the show, The Million Dollar Buyer last night. And The $1 Million Buyer, he was dealing with a dude with oysters, and the guy didn't know, he was a one-man shop. You know, he didn't trust anybody to run the boats. He didn't trust anybody he didn't want to get a truck so he can trust somebody to run the refrigeration truck. You know, he was a one-man show. An entrepreneur can't be a one-man show, because when you're not there and the business doesn't get done, when you're not there, you know, activities don't happen. If you're the only salesperson, then nobody else, then no money is made. You know, the 1 Minute Manager teaches you how to manage people on a very easy process. I use that process to manage my children. When my kids were born, this is how I manage them. This is how I deal with them. Because the main thing it deals with is criticism. How do you criticize people without injuring the person themselves and then keeping them motivated to continue to work? You see, basically it goes like this. You praise the person, criticize the activity or the character or the behavior, and then you reaffirm the person. That's it. I deal with my kids all the time. You know, our kids do something that was messed up, or like in school, like I did it. I got to call my son, and I'll start out like, "Hey man, how you doing? You know what? You're a good kid. You're my son. I know you're awesome, but you got a failing grade on this last test. Now, that is unacceptable. You shouldn't get a failing grade, because, you know, all you had, that just shows me you didn't study, you didn't take time, you procrastinated, or whatever the issue was. But at the end, I'll tell them, now I know you're awesome, I know you're great, and I know you're going to go and you're going to find out what you need to do to try to get that grade up. But you're a great kid, you're my son. So, you know, you're only criticizing the behavior that caused the problem, not the person themselves, right? And you're reaffirming the person. Trust me, I did that with my kids, and that boy is the only one that still gives you a little like you want to ooh. But you know, it works. It's a great way to raise kids. It's a great way to deal with when you need to correct people. Now, so the last book that was on the list. Oh, what I said The Alchemist wasn't on the list. Sorry, The Alchemist is on the list. The Alchemist is the last book. The sixth book is The Alchemist. The Alchemist is an awesome book because it sums up some of the things from the Kybalion and from all the books, right? But The Alchemist really takes you on a journey, and it's a journey of self and self-discovery, and it's a journey to teach you how to grow and be a greater version of yourself, and understanding that, you know, I can give you a book on Tantra of understanding your chakras. We can go through books on, you can read the Tao and the Vedics and the Bible, but these things can easily be summed up, you know, all together with The Alchemist. I mean, the Bible is huge. It's a lot in that book. The Vedics is a lot. The Tao is, well, Tao is not a lot, but, you know, because it's only 88 sayings, I believe. But there's so much, you know, in those, but this one kind of condenses it in a story, and we really like to learn from stories. That's why a lot of your books are written in story format. So those are my 6 books. We're going to have deeper conversations about it. If you notice, we're going through The Alchemist on Mastering the Laws of Attraction. We'll go through some of these other books as well on Mastering the Laws of Attraction. But if you haven't already liked the page, I want you to go like the page, Mastering the Laws of Attraction. But also, as I put in the video yesterday, me and Chanel are doing a new group, a new page. We're going to do our first broadcast tonight for the Honey Pot. So go to the Honey Pot, become a member of that closed group so you can see the live broadcast. We're going to help you with your relationships. And that's one thing I want to put in there. Although it's not on the list, every book will tell you, The Alchemist does teach you this, that if you got to have a great spouse, you got to have a great partner, you got to have a great person who understands your personal legend in order for you to be successful. So you definitely want to be a part of the Honey Pot, so you can start developing yourself to be either to have that great partner to come into your life, or to make the relationship you already have great and awesome, make it sweet. So just as a last one on there, I definitely want you guys to read that and get involved with that group as well as this group. Think about it. If you're mastering the laws of attraction and you're utilizing that plus everything you learn about from us as far as relationships, man, you'll be an awesome person. You know, Dr. King couldn't have done it without Coretta kind of stuff. You know, that's the kind of things that work. And that's what you need to have in your life. You got to have that great person, that great surroundings, those people around you. And, you know, the Richest Man in Babylon stories teach you that as well. So, hey, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know this one was a little rushed, but it's cool, though. So I look forward to it. You guys sign up for the different group, for the Honey Pot. Keep signing up for Mastering the Laws of Attraction. And, you know, I'm going to reveal my coaching programs again here coming soon. So I look forward to it. Traffic coming, got to run across the street. Look forward to it. You guys, y'all have a great day. Remember, my greatness is non-negotiable, and so is yours.